Yeah,
And
and
here we are.
hopefully we won't have any technical difficulties throughout it.
No, I
Right.
believe, I hope that we won't. We prepared ourselves so
Yeah.
that we won't. But look, it's always
Yes.
possible, yeah. And it's
Everything's
possible
possible
that
when you do it for the first time, right?
yeah. So let's tell them, welcome to the brief. In
Yes.
the brief, we only discuss what matters. And today, on this episode of Block Chat, Denis Petrovcic and Makram Hani will be discussing with you everything tokenization, blockchain, and DeFi in real estate. Part of this session is an Ask Me Anything section. Feel free to go to Blocksquare's Twitter account and post any questions you want on the comment or part of the comments on the tweet that has been pinned to the top of that Twitter account. Thank you for everyone who will be attending today, specifically and especially the loyal community of Blocksquare that has been part of our energy and hopefully will be part of our energy for a long time to come. Denis,
Exactly.
why tokenize? So a question that everyone asks, why tokenize? Why would we tokenize real estate, an asset class similar to real estate?
Well, I mean, you come from the real estate sector, you know best how illiquid it is, right? So that was like the first most logical thinking of people wanting to tokenize real estate was, to make it more liquid. And that's still, I think, the ultimate goal is to have to turn an asset class that is kind of hard to access into something that anybody can have exposure to. But we do have certain problems, and those come with regulation, which means you need to create a blockchain system that kind of is at the same time compliant with what regulators want to see. And the main concern there is KYC and limiting the transferability of tokenized real estate assets. And so this creates, it basically creates an infrastructure that in a way, doesn't solve the promises of higher liquidity, which in other cases, like in DeFi, we see, the market growing and booming substantially in the past years.
So let me look into this in a different way. I'm a real estate guy. I'm not a tech guy.
Yeah.
So, guys, Denis is a gentleman who understands tech at a much better level than me. So let me talk this in simple terms. Today we have real estate. It's an asset that is simply illiquid. It's an asset that is, I wouldn't say illiquid, but I say it's less liquid than other assets. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but my mic was not on, so it's on now. So I just noticed that my mic was not on. We're doing good here, huh? So
we are. I was hearing you well, though.
That's cool, huh? So real estate, an asset that is barely liquid. We tokenize it, thus we make it accessible for more people. We make it easier to transact. We make it easier for people to purchase. Now, when we tokenize it, just for people to understand, we're not creating a virtual asset out of it. We're creating a virtual or a digital representation for a real life asset that you know and your father knows and your grandfather have owned and everyone loves. So what we're doing with tokenization is we're creating a digital representation for that asset. Isn't it? Am I right, Denis?
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's we're digitizing a bundle of rights that derive from asset ownership. And where we focus with Blocksquare is we focus on the economic rights. But obviously ownership of real estate represents other rights, like right to use it, right to renew it, replace it, and lease it out, which then again goes into the economic rights.
And by us...
Makram,
Go
Can I
ahead.
ask you one thing? Because I
Sure.
remember when we first met, it was like a year and a half ago, or maybe even more. And we spent, I think, 6 months just discussing this on a monthly basis. What's Where do you see, as somebody coming from the real estate sector, where do you see real estate tokenization, why it matters?
Okay.
What's your take there?
Let me explain it to me in a very simple way. I, around 6.5, 7 years ago, I was thinking about real estate as an asset class. You know, I've been in real estate for approximately 20 years. I love the asset class. I believe it's one of the best asset classes anyone can own and transact. Now, I have bias to real estate. Probably someone else would have bias to another asset class. Yet my bias comes from a scientific approach. I've made millions in real estate, so obviously when you make a success in something, you would love it more than any other asset class. Now, my initial view to this was, or my initial thought was, it's not logical that we can have a company like Alphabet, like Google, like Facebook, Meta, or Apple, sold $1,000 a share or $100 a share, and it's worth $1 trillion as an asset, as a company, as an entity, while we have a simpler entity, which is real estate, and simply to buy it, you need $1 million. And that's where the idea started. Now, at that time, I did not know blockchain. I did not know tokenization. And I started digging into, and that was 7 years ago. Remember, 7 years ago, probably, I didn't know Bitcoin at that time. I believe 90% of people were introduced to Bitcoin in 2017, 2018, yeah? When were you introduced to Bitcoin,
Yes.
Dennis?
I first heard of it in 2011. But
That's too early for me.
Yeah, but I honestly, I read about it. I started setting up a mining rig.
Okay.
But then I got caught up into something else, and
Okay.
I just didn't continue.
Unfortunately for you.
Yeah.
However, look, fortunately for me, for us, the vision that I had is that there should be a way for us to be able to split this asset into smaller pieces. There should be a way where we are able to take the $1 million house and allow my father to own a piece of it, your father to own a piece of it, and every other person in the world to own a piece of it. And we can do that through many tools. And then I fell onto blockchain and tokenization around 4 years ago. And when I fell onto blockchain and tokenization, I said, this is the best way possible to take that asset and give it different characteristics. Because I believe what we're doing in tokenization is way beyond just fractionalizing an asset. I believe we're changing the characteristics of the asset class. I believe that when we tokenize today, we take an asset class that is illiquid. We take an asset class that is a good hedge against inflation, and everyone is talking inflation today. It happens to be. We take an asset class that is bulky, and we simply add to it non-bulkiness. So we remove the cons of this asset class. We add to it the liquidity, and we add to it the transparency, and we add to it additional efficiency. Because we know that real estate as an asset class is imperfect, and part of the imperfection is because of the non-standardization. You're coming from a place of the world, I coming from another place in the world, and I say a big 2-bedroom, and for you a big 2-bedroom means it's 900 square foot, 90 square meters or 86 square meters or whatever. For me, a big 2-bedroom is 2,000 square foot or 195 square meters. And standardizing our terms, our understanding, because when we talk a good cash flowing company today, anyone understands a global standard for that. So all of those are elements that I was thinking of. And at that time, I created something called Real Estate 6.0. And what came into that and fed into the middle of that is tokenization and blockchain because of the amount of transparency and efficiency it can add. Now, that
Mm-hmm.
said, I I did a very big research, and I believe you remember when we reached each other. Um, uh,
Yes.
the main thing for me was that tokenization does not end up being a trap. Now, what do I mean by
Yes.
tokenization being a trap? I'm a practical guy. I need something that I don't believe that tech is for tech, is a fancy thing that people just do. I believe that tech is meant to improve people's lives and convenience. And for us to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do that, I always believe that we need to get tech to do what we say tech would do all through the cycle. So we don't start the funnel and then we leave it after that. And
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons, other than we synergized well, and I thought that you're. Sorry? Now, I'm not sure yet what happened. I believe we're back online now, but it seems that our NDI connection have failed for some reason. So, anyway, we're
Okay.
back online. I hope that
Yeah.
it wasn't an inconvenience for everyone with us. Anyway, we had a technical difficulty. It's part of what we are supposed to live, especially on the first few attempts. But hopefully,
Yeah.
the rest of the session will be good, and the coming episodes will not have any technical difficulties. So, what I was talking about is we met, and I found that you had the complete vision, tokenizing and then liquefying post tokenization until legislation reaches a point where we are able to simply tokenize and then trade those tokens on the secondary market and on the primary market in a very easy way. Now,
Mm-hmm.
legislation will need time to join us. Between now and then, what we need to do is what we're doing, I believe, and we're doing well, which is we tokenize an asset and then we can create pools, asset pools, and we can create liquidity pools, which I will definitely leave you to talk about more about, which Oceanpoint offers. So today, guys, our sessions in Block Chat will be sponsored by Blocksquare and Oceanpoint, and I believe that part of what we want to do is explain to everyone what are we doing there and why would we differ from anyone tokenizing, because that's a major point. So Dennis, how do we and why is DeFi important in our process, and why is DeFi important when we're doing what we're doing?
Um, Makram, I'll jump to the answer to those questions. I just cannot see you in our video, so maybe if you can just, I'm not sure if it's streaming my video, but anyway, just to let you know. So yeah, yeah, I can see it now. Perfect.
Ah, perfect.
So yeah, so you were asking about how this all interconnects with DeFi. So what we learned is throughout the past 3 years developing Blocksquare is that we are creating, well, we've created this infrastructure where anybody can easily launch a marketplace now. Just like, I don't know, for instance, people are familiar with Realty, so they develop their own kind of solution, more or less, and we enable entrepreneurs to launch their own realties. But because of regulation and KYC, AML that comes with it, the infrastructure needs to prevent the asset tokens from being traded outside of that marketplace. This means that they're not compatible with any DeFi protocols on the secondary market like Uniswap or SushiSwap, etc. Which means that the liquidity of tokenized assets is limited. Like we have tokenization, we're saying, you know, this is increasing liquidity, but on the other side, it's decreasing it to the amount of of users of a specific marketplace. So in this regard, it doesn't really change much in comparison to real estate crowdfunding websites. Except that, okay, it has have also this potential secondary market, but you need to have thousands and thousands of users, which is something that is not really feasible for new startups to
Which
have.
is a trap, yeah? It's simply, you get...
And it creates this trap that you mentioned,
Exactly.
So, so we were thinking of, what if we develop a system of making it compatible with DeFi? But obviously this is not like something easy to do, because however you structure it, you always end up creating like a fund. And if you create a fund, bam, you're again regulated. But the thing is that
here we're not against regulation, yeah? We're fans of regulation. But until regulators regulate for us, for Ubers of real estate, yeah? We need to do what exactly you're talking about, so that no one understands this wrong. We're fans of regulation.
Yeah, regulation is good. I'm not saying this, but at the same time, there's certain freedoms that DeFi brings, like in a way, anonymity, right? Or a way for people to engage without directly disclosing their identity and be
while AML compliant and while exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and the AML compliance comes with the way real estate is tokenized through Blocksquare, for instance, right? Because any holder is an identifiable either legal entity or private entity or like a natural person, right? Well, which in DeFi it's not the case, right? And if you create a fund, this means that you are creating this new layer which has the same rulebook.
Yep.
So we didn't go into the direction of creating this tokenized fund, but into creating something that can own real estate tokens or tokenized real estate. And at the same time, it doesn't pull in funds to purchase it, but it acts more like I would say like a central bank in a way, where the payment means is minted through the protocol and burned at the same time. So it manages the stablecoin. And with stablecoins, they are perfectly fine with DeFi. Even regulation goes into the direction where stablecoins like DAI can obviously exist, right? And it will support those types of stablecoins. And I don't see what we're creating not much different than what MakerDAO does. Obviously, they started in 2014.
I just received a question that I would throw over here. What is why minting and burning directly? So I believe that this is something that people will ask themselves. Why would you mint and burn at the same time?
So minting is the process of creating a token, and burning is the process of taking it away, like deleting it, right? Removing it. And when you mint a token, like you can do it without any backing or without any reason, or you can have a predefined set of rules that when a token can be minted. And what we're creating with Oceanpoint is that the minting of the stablecoin is directly attached to the value of the real estate tokens that are being sold to the Oceanpoint contract system.
Okay, so here,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and the burning is vice versa. So when somebody buys from Oceanpoint, they pay in the stablecoin, and that stablecoin gets burned because it's a reverse process then.
Okay, so currently, if we look at our process, people can tokenize real estate. They can tokenize real estate in other words, issue 100,000 tokens of every property, of every asset.
Yep.
And that property can be an apartment. That property can be way beyond an apartment. It can be a full building. It can be a commercial. It can be a residential building. And then tokenizing that building means that we're putting that building through a smart contract and issuing tokens, 100,000 tokens, isn't it? Now we can tokenize a percentage of the building. We don't need to tokenize the whole building. Am I right? And then we tokenize that percentage of the building. Those tokens today, through Oceanpoint, can be swapped, and liquidity can be created to allow the owners of those assets to get solid, stable coins in return for their tokens. And thus, in another way, they can utilize those stable coins, call it DAI, in transferring it or converting it to fiat again, and then using it. Am I right?
In a way, yes. But at the same time, we need to understand that this is like the ultimate goal, obviously, what you're describing. So you're describing the ultimate goal, but there's steps to get there. And just, even if we would have this fully supported, what you're saying right now, we would not be successful, because the promise to real estate owners that we've been selling with real estate tokenization, and not just Blocksquare, I'm saying about, all the companies that are dealing with real estate tokenization, the selling point is liquidity, right? Or co-investment. So getting financing for their real estate projects. And the problem is that the market is not evolved yet to provide that liquidity at mass. But on the other side, we have DeFi, which is a market that thrives on liquidity, actually. And at the same time, you have DeFi ecosystems that have zero exposure to real estate. So though if you want to have those decentralized organizations compete with the corporations around the world. Oh, somebody's calling me. I had it on no disturb. Sorry.
No problem.
So if you want to have them compete with the corporations around the world, how can we expect that when they don't have the same capabilities or the same security, right? And what we are doing with Oceanpoint is getting them exposure to real estate assets. So that's the promise towards DeFi with Oceanpoint. Now, the promise towards real estate asset owners, it's not liquidity at this moment. With the next releases, yes, we're gonna focus on liquidity for BST, but for real estate owners, we will create an extra or a new revenue stream that it was not there before. In exchange for them tokenizing their real estate asset and locking in 10% of that real estate asset's value into Oceanpoint.
That's cool.
Well,
and here, so you're talking about what we are able to do today, yeah?
Yes.
And then
exactly.
Perfect. So let's describe why would someone do that today? And other than being a pioneer, other than locking into the future, because I believe anyone who's heading in that direction today wants to lock into the future and understands that this is coming. No way it doesn't. It's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of process. Dubai, for example, have just issued a new law to deal with digital or digital represented assets and digital assets in general. That's where we're heading, because it does offer more transparency, it does offer more efficiency. Why would anyone do this today? So investors generally are driven by the either the short-term, medium-term, and long-term benefit. We obviously can see the long-term benefit. It's pretty obvious. What's the short and medium-term benefits in what we are doing?
So I think like with real estate, people are used to the stable returns. It's like you just keep on growing it, right?
Yep.
And it takes time to get there, but once you are in that machine, it starts going. It's fairly predictable. So what the outcome is. Now, the benefit that we're providing to the market is to get exposure to crypto assets, to DeFi, for real estate owners without actually risking much. So the only thing they risk right now working with us is some time and some understanding of what we're doing. And on the other side, for that trust, we are going to reward them with BST initially. But in time, the protocol might evolve into distributing rewards in maybe other coins as well, in other cryptos. So this is actually up to the DAO that we are forming, that we're creating, and its governance body, which is like right now, it's if you are a BST holder, you're basically one of the governance of what we're building. And we said it's not a fund, which it's not. It's not really a central bank, so it's, let's say it's a, it's the easiest thing to say. It's a protocol. And people are.
It is.
Will have a say how it evolves.
It is a protocol. However, so let me draw the bigger picture here and put what we're doing today or what is possible today as part of the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that in a day, very soon, we'll be able to not only own a piece of an asset in Fifth Avenue and another in London and another in Dubai, just for $20,000, for example, as a capital injection. We are able also to create returns out of that asset within that ecosystem. And for owners who do own assets, they're able to lock in their assets into a tokenization process. The assets will be locked into an asset pool. They will be able to get rewards, and that's today, yeah? They will be able to get rewards. It's similar to staking rewards because they are part of that ecosystem, because they're pledging their assets, although they're losing nothing, yeah? They're still getting the income they were getting yesterday. And on top of that, they are getting an additional benefit because they're locking
for 6
into...
months.
Exactly. Now,
for 6 months.
That
and then
cannot
they have
be forever.
The freedom of choosing what they want to, how they want to continue, obviously, right? Sorry for just jumping in there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's the whole idea is it needs to be logical, it needs to be reasonable. Yes, they should be motivated to come in because they're getting rewards for 6 months. And that's, let's call it an attempt to grow the ecosystem, because the more assets there is and the more liquidity there is, the more dynamic the whole ecosystem is. And the more dynamic the whole ecosystem is, the better it is for everyone in the ecosystem. The better it is for every owner, the better it is for every token holder. And then it's much more dynamic. So what we're doing today is we're allowing that person who owns property to lock in assets, tokenize them. On the other hand, make a return on top of his already existing return and lock into the future. Now, what's the future that we're talking to people about? Because I'm a fan of the end result, yeah? While we're getting to the end result, there is a very long process and there's much of actionable items that need to be put in. And there's people who should have belief, like, what you have, like what I have, like what many people in Fibri do have, and all of those people driven by what can tomorrow offer and what can tech offer. So today, if we want to say what's tomorrow, where are we going, in a very simple way as well, in very simple terms, what and how would you describe tomorrow for all of us?
If we're talking about tomorrow, I think it's
tomorrow or the day
having...
after, Dennis. It does not have to be exactly tomorrow.
I know what you're saying. I'm so caught up in the now, and thinking what should be done now and what are the next steps now when building this. That the vision is there. I know where I would like to take this. Obviously, it's not all up to me, but the market will show. But I think ultimately everybody wants to have real estate as a way more liquid asset class, a way to enter, to be exposed to real estate in a very simple way, with a few clicks. I think this is basically the general description of tomorrow that we want to achieve.
I'll tell you guys about tomorrow.
The problem is that if we start offering this today, we're going to fail. And that's why companies around us fail. That's why real estate tokenization as a market is failing real estate owners, because it doesn't actually bring what it promises. So we need to reconfigure the promise to the real estate market. Now that's what we're doing with Oceanpoint. We're changing the value proposition. We're saying, look, there's people who who made a lot of money with crypto. Do you want to make money with crypto? You have real estate, come with us, and you're gonna make some money on top of it. And in the end, if you like it, you stick with it. We show you more how to make more with it. And if you don't, it's your choice.
And it's not speculative.
What I believe is that this way we will be locking in or attracting a lot of people, individuals that own real estate like you and I do, and want to just bring that value to earn on top of it. I mean, people are buying, you were saying, people are buying NFTs, and then they're, locking in NFTs, they're earning some tokens, etc. And things are exciting in the DeFi world, where in the real estate world, it's not so exciting right now.
I disagree with you, but I disagree with you. I believe, guys, everything is exciting in the real estate world. And you know what? Tokenization and DeFi are additionally exciting when you add to them a real life asset, at least in my view. Now, I'm a very conservative thinker. By the way, what Denis is talking about is not the speculative, is the approach that is being followed is a no hype approach. We're not talking about a speculative drive to earn more because there will be fluctuation of values. And this is a question that we get asked so often. I tokenize my property, will it multiply? Will the token value multiply by 2 tomorrow morning? It shouldn't. Because if you're tokenizing a property, it's a very transparent process. There is a survey, there's a valuation that has been done by an RICS certified valuer, and that goes public. You can see it before buying the token, and whoever buys the token from you can see it as well. So it's not that easy for a token to grow in value regardless of the real estate value behind it. It shouldn't actually. What should happen is that it should go in line with the real estate value. The token is a representation, rather than it being a hard copy, a paper you have, a title deed you have, it's a digital representation of that value. But it is a representation of that value, not any other value. So, yes, Dennis.
I think, it would be good to take some questions in, I guess. I see that we have quite a lot of people asking different stuff on Twitter. So I think this would be like a good moment maybe to dig into those questions. What do you think?
Sure, definitely. I cannot see them at my end. So if you head on with them from your end, that would be great.
Sure. Let me scroll down, because we did say that like we're gonna answer some of the questions that come in first.
Yep.
So here we have one question is, what are the plans vision for Blocksquare after release of Oceanpoint version 03? This is a good question. I mean, I really like, what's beyond this first 3 stages of release. And like we said, we want to connect DeFi protocols, other ecosystems. We want to connect them and give them exposure to real estate assets. And we have a plan for this and how we can achieve this. Basically allowing holders of any other tokens to stake their tokens and direct a portion of the revenues that Oceanpoint is generating through the assets that it owns into buybacks of those tokens. This obviously goes at the expense of BST tokens, but at the same time, it kind of serves as a bridge to other projects and stakeholders in those projects. And at the same time, it serves the purpose of Oceanpoint, which is to bring more stability to DeFi projects. Obviously, the staking process can involve BST holders holding BST. So basically, doing something like you bring GRT plus BST, stake it in the pool, and you're directing now a portion of the revenues to buybacks in GRT. But then another protocol might bring their own token, and they might counterweight that and redirect a portion of it, not just to GRT, but as well to their protocol, etc. So this can really grow this type of staking and lock in a lot of value also in terms of BST. So this is what we're thinking beyond version 03, for instance.
As well as, I believe that the very important part of the growth and the prosperity is the ability of ours in the stage 2 that is now starting, because I believe the Oceanpoint had a great start, and I believe that now is a new phase for the whole process and for everyone as part of it. I believe it's very important that that community that is part of, and that has been part of our energy grows. So I believe that everyone should go and try to get an invite to Discord. Yeah, can you tell us more about that, Denis?
Sure. So like communities in DeFi, I mean, Discord is a platform that offers really good way of communication. We can create multiple channels. Internally, we use, as a team, we use Slack, which proved in the ICO times of 2017 that it was not the best type of platform to be used. And Discord kind of now is the standard in DeFi. So this is something that is very important to us, and we invite anybody who wants to join in our Discord to secure an invite. Right now, I think it's still 12 days left. So we said we're going to launch it in 1 month after we released Oceanpoint. And we're going to reward people who actually do join in at this moment, and who refer others to the project.
I believe that let's take another question. I believe that some of the questions that are coming in are very valuable.
Yeah. Do you want to pick one?
I go ahead from your end, and then I'll give you a deeper one that talks about the because I believe some of the guys here are attached to the future, the ultimate result. Where are we going? Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, this is the driver. The ultimate result is why we're all here. But how you get there, how you execute, is the main question. We all know why we're doing this. The question is which route is the winning one.
So
now here I have a question by Luke. Which markets will you target in the beginning? Living in the Netherlands, I think it will be very difficult to get in with a very overheated housing market already. I picked this question because it's localized, so it really looks into a local environment, right? What's happening there, and we had a client in the Netherlands, actually one of the first clients for launching a marketplace, and the collaboration, even though it started strongly, it didn't go through. It was a bit too early to launch a marketplace there, but at the same time, I think that promise of liquidity was that they thought it was like a magic stick. They didn't saw it needs a lot of work. To create a marketplace like Realty, I think they have like 1,500 subscribers or customers now. They're able to sell in seconds small properties. The question is, what about bigger properties? But I'm sure they're gonna get there because they have like a great team. They're doing a great job and developing that marketplace. And I reference it a lot of times because that's, I think, the business model that people are seeking when they want to launch marketplaces with us. Where we're going, it's not actually up to us to decide. So we get somebody who is keen on launching a marketplace, and we work with them to help them do that, to help them achieve that. The value proposition we're bringing with Oceanpoint now makes it more feasible for those marketplaces to get initial traction. Because before they were, like I said, you were launching a marketplace and you were promising liquidity, but you didn't have a single user. Maybe you had a community of 300 subscribers to a newsletter. And then obviously you cannot do a single deal with it. So that's where people get stuck. Now with Oceanpoint, marketplace operators will have an easier job because they're not promising liquidity anymore, but they're actually promising an extra revenue stream for a limited period of time. And I think this changes the game a bit. Now they can really build up at least the supply side. And by doing that, I'm sure it will be easier for them to talk to the demand side. And thus, I see that Oceanpoint will also help on the front line of creating new marketplaces and new marketplace operators, achieving small wins, I would say, step by step.
We'll have an easier job going forward, yeah? So,
yeah.
By the way, guys, so what Blocksquare mainly does is it enables companies who wish to launch marketplaces that are white label marketplaces. So somebody who has a target to penetrate into a market, which is a regional market or a local market, can issue with thousands of dollars rather than millions, and with a few weeks rather than years, a marketplace that is white label, and can have that white label marketplace money generating. Now, as Denis said, it's not an act of magic. It wouldn't happen in 2 seconds, and you wouldn't see that you have flocking of liquidity onto your marketplace. It's a long process. It's similar or even slightly more difficult because there's a learning curve here. It's similar to you launching a portal today. You wouldn't be expecting to launch a property portal in any market and expect floods of people and traffic within 2 weeks. Now, the difficult question, I know you have a question you wanna pick here, but let me ask you the more difficult question that says, so George have sent me, and guys, by the way, put them on Twitter, please. It's easier because then Denis will be able to see them as well. So George is asking, to achieve what you're talking about, Makram, okay, so the bigger picture, is there any legislator today that have put the framework together to be able to achieve that. So do you think that there is a legislator today that have put the framework already to do that? I don't believe so. Legislators are trying, but do you believe that there's any Denis who approached that yet?
I think we're moving on. There was a question in the sorry, there's people calling me, I guess, and I'm using my phone for the. I put it on the no disturb, but apparently.
I believe you need to put it on flight mode. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways,
it's our first attempt, guys. So part of our experience doing that. Hopefully, the second one will be much smoother.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure it will be. Yeah, there was also a question that relates to what you're asking. Like, what's the biggest difference between 2018 and 2022 right now? And I think, yeah, one thing is the understanding of people, about blockchain in general, and the awareness is higher than at that time. At the same time, the regulators are interested in what is being done. But I think in terms of what we've done, the way we tokenize the value of real estate, the beauty of it is that it's cheap. Now you can really tokenize with what we have. You can tokenize a flat. And how it's the legal part of it, how it's done, it's applicable in any jurisdiction. Now, the question about regulation, it's not about only how you tokenize, but what you can do with it afterwards.
And it's an ongoing process. It's not a they wouldn't be able to issue a law because the industry is evolving very fast, and I don't believe
it makes sense. In my opinion, it doesn't make sense to create a law, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to ban it. And the problem people have in launching a marketplace like Realty, for instance, is that they have this uncertainty. Will the regulators stop them? Will they be investing in a business that is going to get banned in 1 year or 2 years, right? And those concerns are what are stopping the market from evolving further. And with Oceanpoint, I think we are solving this issue because the issuer of the token is not selling the tokens to openly on the market. So it's not a sale of securities, but it's a private equity or more of it's not a private equity deal, but it's a private deal between two companies, the issuer company and Blocksquare. And that's it. And now,
so it's a commercial agreement, in other words, because here this is very important. It's a commercial agreement, yeah. Exactly. And here I want to talk about it. I'll leave you to continue on this idea so that you not lose the idea. And I want to talk about this subject specifically.
Yeah, and this is like it changes how the risk factor for somebody offering tokenized assets on a marketplace.
Okay.
And instead, it's just a transaction between two companies. That's actually all I wanted to say. But so you continue, yeah.
What we're doing, guys, today. So today, to tokenize an asset itself is not possible. Today, what you tokenize is the financial rights behind the asset, the economic rights behind the asset, isn't it, Denis? So when we're tokenizing today, we're tokenizing those economic rights, because today to do any transaction on the property itself, you need to register it in the land registry, yeah? Otherwise, it's illegal in any place in the world. So we don't want to do anything illegal, and I believe most of the industry doesn't want to do anything illegal. And what we want to do is work with regulators to make sure that we're able to do things the right way to enhance our industry and enhance our clients' experience. Now, when you tokenize the economic rights, it's an agreement between an owner of an entity or an owner of a a company that owns a property and an owner of another company on the other side. Now, that agreement is in general very transparent. Today, it doesn't hold risk to the owner of the asset, owner of the property. There is and I encourage people to attempt the idea of asking, guys, can I tokenize and how would I tokenize today? Because they will see that if they see that things don't work for them, they can reverse the whole process for now to make sure that they have no losses whatsoever doing that. Isn't it, Dennis?
Yes, I mean, we with the how we're gonna progress with Oceanpoint is we'll tokenize the asset for the directly, because I mean before our scope was always to provide infrastructure, so to provide a marketplace, to provide the tokenization protocol, and we had inquiries, by asset owners, can we tokenize my asset and sell it on your marketplace? And we're like, we're not operating a marketplace, unfortunately, but we're providing the means for others to do it. And so we need to turn these potential clients down. Because there was a question there on Twitter about, we tokenize a parking space in 218, and how many assets will we see in the next year coming up to the protocol? And I think Oceanpoint kind of expedites this because, again, the value proposition to asset owners, it's not liquidity, but it's an extra revenue stream, which means that we can onboard assets that are not looking for financing, but are stabilized assets. And I really see no reason for us to not get to, 50 million worth of real estate in the next couple of months. The difference between 218, when we tokenized the parking space, and today is that we really worked on the legal aspect as well, not just the tech. So in 2018, when we tokenized that, we created an ERC20 contract, which had a certain set of functionalities that is also present in the tokenization system we have today. But the legal aspect of it was, honestly, it was not as well done as it is today. And to get us to this point, we had to, in a way, suffer and search for the right way of doing it, and spend numerous hours of finding the right solution. Because if you tokenize, let's say, the STO model today, at each transaction, you need to sign a piece of paper, actually.
Exactly.
So each time two parties transact the shares, there needs to be an agreement between them. But with how we tokenize real estate, the agreement is already when the asset is tokenized. So it's already in the protocol, on the protocol level. And then the actual transfer of rights is instant with the transfer of tokens. And that's what tokenization is about. It's like when I sell you or send you tokens of an asset, you gain rights to that asset. Now, what we do is economic rights, but there might be a token might carry other rights to the asset as well. Why not?
There was a discussion yesterday. Yesterday we were having a chat about the possibility of having two kinds of tokens for every asset, a right of use and a right of ownership. In other words, it's similar to how you own property in many markets. You can own the right to use, similar to many ways of ownership where you own the right to use, but you do not own the asset in perpetuity. And then there can be two kinds of tokens, and those two kinds of tokens can be both representing a kind of right in the asset itself. Now, how does this evolve? I believe the fundamentals will still be the fundamentals. There's no need for this to be evolving outside the fundamentals. Yeah, the fundamentals of owning property will still be the fundamentals of owning property tomorrow, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, it won't change how we own real estate, or I don't see it in the short term at least, but at least how we get economic exposure towards that asset class. I think that's at least the starting point where we're focusing right now. Makram,
Yes.
do you
Any other
do you
questions?
think we take in some other questions and then we wrap up for today?
We should do. We still have a few minutes left.
Yes.
Yes, let's take a few other questions.
All right. So I think here there's a question that I'm sure everybody in the community is kind of interested in. Is, you know, there's a product, there's partnerships rolling in, there's, you know, a lot of things being done. When is Blocksquare's team going to focus on marketing? And
this is what we're doing. So
I think you have two types of marketing in DeFi, and we've discussed this with Victor and Peter in our last board meeting, actually. You can overhype something, but whatever goes up also falls down. And I don't believe in creating short-term gains from marketing. I believe that the only thing that creates like a growing ecosystem is, you know, product and communication. So right now what we're doing is communicating, and when we're not, we're building, and that's the whole thing we need to do. We need to communicate with the community. We need to communicate with real estate owners. We need to explain to them why they should care about this. You know, if we don't have a product where they can engage with, then obviously all the communication is in vain. So
it's all about value add. Yeah, it's all about
possibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's all about value add. What value can you add to the market, and what value can you add to your business, so that every holder of a token and every holder of a Blocksquare token can benefit with time. And there's always two kinds of benefit, two kinds of advantages. There's the short term and there's the long term. And everything that's hyped short term, exactly what Denis said, will be reversed in general in the same speed, while everything where you build, and you build on fundamentals, and you build for the long run, and this is what is happening here, and then you communicate it in a logical and reasonable manner without hype, benefits you in the long term and pays off better because it's more sustainable and it's more organically grown. Do we have any other questions?
I think we have maybe a couple more, but what we can do is I would wrap up for today. I really liked your suggestion of then taking the questions we have in the Twitter and elsewhere as well, and just creating like this short videos, trying to or shed some light on those with direct answers to those questions, and then just do this in the following 14 days until the next time, right? So I think it's March 24th. The next time we'll have again a session,
an episode
of blockchain.
Exactly. So we'll do breadcrumbs, guys. We'll do coffee breaks, and breadcrumbs are supposed to be very small breadcrumbs, very small sessions that do add value and give you answers to what your questions are in a very easy and direct manner. And coffee breaks are slightly longer, but still are coffee breaks to consume as you go. And we'll be providing you with many of those, as many as we can, to make sure that we are adding value and we are getting the community together, and we are getting the right knowledge and right info without hype, as we said, across to you, because this is what our intention is, and this is where we want to go with BlockChat. Shall we thank everyone, Denis, for joining us today?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Thanks everybody who. But I would like to thank you first. Honestly,
thank you.
I mean, you've done an amazing job. I don't know how this all exactly works. I'm getting used to this, the green screen behind me, the video streaming thing. I learned a lot through the preparations we had.
I'm still learning as we go.
Yeah, but you're doing amazing. You're doing great. I mean, it's awesome.
Thank you, Denis.
Yeah, and I think this is something that I'm looking forward to continue to have these conversations, and like you said, also thank you for the community that supported. Like, the second thank you is really for the community. There's some people within our community that you're doing an amazing job. They're supporting the project. There's a lot of things that happen in the back. Honestly, we've been working our ass off for the past 3 years, building what I believe is exactly what is required to make a change. Yeah, now we are, just have everything there, and we're executing on what we built. And now it's our turn to show how good at executing we are. And I think the only metric that will matter is the total value locked in terms of tokenized real estate. So I think this is going to be our strongest marketing tool, is our ability to execute.
I want to thank you, Denis. I want to thank everyone who attended today. Actually, to be honest, it was a learning. We're learning as we're doing it. Yes, I spent the last 2 weeks, probably look at my eyes. I spent the last 2 weeks trying to learn this. It's not second nature to me. It's something that's so far from how I'm wired. I'm a guy who barely knows how to use an iPhone properly. My son, who's 7, usually helps me with that. I believe it's good that we've reached here. We had 2 glitches while within the session. Hopefully the coming sessions will be much smoother. I thank you all for giving us your attention. Please voice your questions. Interact on Twitter. The page or the event page will be updated on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to communicate with us. Our intention is to add value to you with a scientific approach, no hype whatsoever, because we're fans of fundamentals. I thank you, Denis, so much for being able to live this experience with me, testing things that don't work and then just testing them again and again. And I believe that there is much value to add, and it's a pleasure. I'm enjoying this process, and hopefully we'll enjoy it for a very long time to come. Thank you. Welcome to the brief, and to our episode, the first episode of BlockChat with Denis Petrovcic and Makram Hani. And remember, we're powered by Blocksquare and Oceanpoint. And again, be part of our energy.